What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I wanted to break down what's going on with the overall market in Tesla stock and talk about some very, very important levels. I'm also going to break down what's going on with a couple of other tickers and some very important things to watch for as today continues. But before I break anything about what's going on with the markets, before I talk about why Tesla's outperforming the market, as we had some big news that came out, let me just mention a couple of things. I'm firstly not a financial planner, so take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. The offer ends very soon, in just about 9 days, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with the market and Tesla. So Tesla is currently up about 4.5%, almost making a full recovery from what we saw on Friday, and overall is holding up quite nicely. However, this is not what I was expecting. I wasn't expecting Tesla to pump this much, nor were most people. And a lot of this had to do with manipulation and the market makers using big pieces of news to pump Tesla. So the real question is, why is this happening? Well, the Chinese-made EV deliveries rose 9.3% year over year in August, which was some big news that came out. They sold about 84,000 models. But is this the real reason why Tesla's pumping this hard, or is this the only reason? And the answer is no. So what happened over the last couple of days when you look at the options chain? The put side started to see a big increase in buying pressure. So we saw a lot of people buying puts or going to buy the short positions, which meant that they were betting Tesla would start dropping. And when this ended up happening, right, when we started to see lots of shorts piling into Tesla as soon as like last week and also going into this week at the much lower levels, what happened was the market makers realized this, and so did Wall Street. So what Wall Street started doing is they started doing the opposite. And some of these big institutions came out and they started buying. We saw a lot of big increases in the open interest and the volume for different strikes, from like the 250 strike and also like a 255. So they started buying the dip on Tesla, buying long options just to screw over the other people out there. Then they started buying and buying and buying Tesla to pump it even higher to make money on those options. And what helped them were the short positions, because when Tesla started pumping, we saw a short squeeze, right? A mini short squeeze. So the shorts, they started closing a lot of these positions. You guys can see the open interest was not as big as what we saw in the morning. So what they did was they pumped it. The shorts were not happy about that. The shorts started closing their positions, and then they hedge by buying more shares. So by buying shares, they pushed the share price up, and this led to a mini short squeeze. And this was all part of the market makers' game, because when Tesla dropped really hard on Friday, they wanted everyone to suspect that Tesla would tank. They wanted us all to turn into bears. And they knew that the technicals were looking weak on Tesla. When you zoom out of the chart, look at the 4-hour time frame, for example, they knew exactly what they were doing. And then once a lot of people started buying the short positions, they pumped it right back up to cause a short squeeze and to do something that was not even too predictable, if anything. So when it comes to Tesla at this point, we have this imbalance up here on the 4-hour time frame around this 257 area. This is likely where Tesla's trying to head towards. It's holding up very, very nicely. Let's get across on the 4-hour time frame. Now, once again, I wasn't really expecting this. Technicals were not really showing this yesterday or even like during the pre-market. They did this out of manipulation. They did this to pump the markets and try to trick as many people as possible. But another thing I told you was that SPY was looking kind of weak. And if you look at SPY, it's down 0.28%. It actually dropped to an even lower level. It broke below 450. But we need to see it break below the 20 EMA to turn more bearish. As of right now, that's going to be our support, with 451 being our resistance. So we're going to be watching that all very, very carefully. And if anything, SPY is looking a little bit weaker on the 4-hour time frame. We're going to be watching the 20 EMA. If that breaks, that's going to start sinking a little bit lower. This is what we predicted on SPY. That was what played out. Looking at the IWM, the Russell 2000, this ended up dropping as well as we predicted. We were talking about this thing getting a rejection, and you could see it's starting to look weaker. Look at NEO, it's a little bit down. Apple is very flat. We were talking about some weakness on Apple potentially forming. But I told you that Apple could try to pump a little bit, try to fill its gap or get closer to that first before it starts to cool off. It gapped down, it's trying to make its way up, but it's still kind of red, struggling to break out above the 189.75 resistance. So Apple is very flat. It's still trying to hold up. It's not necessarily weak, but it's not necessarily strong. Very, very flat. The QQQ is also kind of flat. It's only up like 0.18%, bouncing up to 20 EMA. We're going to be watching resistance on this 378.25 zone just about here. So we're at resistance right now. If it rejects off this, it could start sinking. Now, the 4 hour is looking a little bit weaker unless we try to hold above 378. It could turn, but it's still looking a little bit more in favor of the bears on the much larger time frame. We are technically establishing a lower high compared to the high we made previously. So if we could hold 378 for a longer period of time, if we continue to hold it, we could shift momentum in favor of the bulls. But for now, still not looking that strong. Nvidia got the backtest of 485. We were talking about that before getting a rejection. And now it's just kind of like shopping between our important EMAs. The 200 EMA and the 30 minutes time frame is going to be very important for it. So watch 482 as support. Watch the resistance at the 50 EMA. If it breaks below that, you're going to be watching 478 and 475 as the next levels. I do believe it's just going to chop around for the rest of the day. With that said, the Nasdaq is kind of red right now. SPX is kind of red as well. The VIX is up. The dollar is also pumping, which is a bearish signal. Coinbase is down. Alibaba is down. Google is down. Most stocks out there are actually dropping as of right now, at least to some extent. Google is still pretty flat, but it's not looking that strong. We're going to be watching the 50 as our resistance, our 50 EMA. If this rejects, you're going to be watching it come all the way down to about 136.4 for them, potentially 136. Not looking extremely strong, but not looking too weak right now. It's just kind of flat, but a little bit red. Amazon's kind of down too. Amazon is, once again, it came down to the 135s. We're talking about this. If it rejects, we're going to be watching our 20. If 137 rejects, you're going to be watching it come down to 136.11. And it looks like it's rejecting right now. So there could be more downside potentially coming. So watch this very carefully on Amazon. That's going to be key. Meta tried to balance, but it ended up testing our $300 level. That's now acting as resistance and it's struggling to break. So how is Tesla looking compared to the market? Well, we were talking about the market potentially showing some weakness. And right now we're starting to see some weakness on SPY, Apple, and etc. If Tesla followed the trend of the market, we could have seen it kind of like pump and slow down. Instead, Tesla's outperforming because the market makers are trying to squeeze those shorts. They're trying to do something very unexpected, and they're doing something different from what technicals would have predicted. So this is all part of their game to try to trick you, and the best thing to do is just read the trend and then try to be unbiased nonetheless. So being unbiased, I mean, when you look at the 30 minutes time frame, we have our bullish MACD as of right now. Tesla has not shown signs of weakness. 255 is going to be our support, then 253.5 below that. Those are going to be some important supports, and if they break, there's 252, then 250 as support. So watch all these support zones. It's holding up nicely. 257 is our resistance, 258, then 260. How is it looking from a technical standpoint? A little bit more in favor of the bulls because the MACD is still not necessarily crossing, but Tesla's not really breaking out as hard right now. It's just still kind of like favoring trying to hold these levels. So watch the 5 EMA at like 255 as our support. It looks like it's kind of just like range bound right now between 255 and 257, going back and forth and back and forth. But momentum is still favoring the bulls a little bit more as Tesla's holding support quite nicely. So as long as it holds above 255, we could see it try to just range trade and try to push up higher later on. If it breaks below 255, then we could start to see Tesla fall to this breakout area, very close to this like 253.5 zone, 252 below that. So we're going to be watching it very carefully. Right now, it's basically just range bound. But like I said before, be prepared for some manipulation in case there are like fake outs or things like that. And you're just going to be watching these ranges just for the time being. So Tesla's pretty wild. I mean, the last 2 trading days have been pretty crazy. Not at all what many of us were expecting. We were expecting like a smaller rebound right here towards like this imbalance, nothing like that crazy, but this was very, very beautiful to witness for the bulls. And if you made money on this, great job. You can't always be right about everything, so I am sorry, guys. It is what it is, but we're just gonna move on and not let this get the best of us. So watch this range, do what you have to do, guys. Remain calm, cool, and collected, and I'll see you guys very, very soon for the next video. Thank you. Have a great day, and I'll once again thank you and peace out.